Hey John, what's going on tonight, man? How are you?
Very well, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We just had a rumble of thunder here not that long ago, and it's just amazing. Here we're recording on a Wednesday night. We never do this for Two Noobs Talking, but
Mm-mm.
we're doing it tonight, baby. How about that? Welcome once again to another episode of Two Noobs Talking. It's episode 35, and with my buddy John Tracy once again on the road in Texas.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
Matt Craig, lock, stock, and barrel here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Happy you're with us tonight.
Wrapping it up.
We
I promise 36. I will be back in the studio. I promise.
There you go. There you
I
go.
promise.
Exactly. Exactly. We wanted to kind of just put this episode together. Normally we record once a week, right, John? I mean, this was kind of
Hmm.
just one of those things, but the flurry of activity that we saw this week just alone, we were like, did we just write a show? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was just like, what just happened here? And we do. We have a show. It's amazing, and it's just everything from we got a Dr. Quack update, no surprise, and we've
Of
got,
course.
but that will lead into a really good New York Times opinion piece, which John I found very very interesting, and then of course
Surprisingly from the New York Times.
yeah, exactly. Then we've got an interesting think piece, kind of what Steve Murray and I touched base on a few
Hmm.
podcasts ago, the idea of working from home versus remote, working from home versus going into the office. Well, there was something that happened at Apple
This
company.
was a shock to me.
This was a huge
This was
shock.
a
So
shock to me when it came over. I was like, whoa, this is something we're talking about.
we're going to dive right into that. Of course, we'll have a happy segment. We always fill that in there. But let's dive right in, John, to our first topic because
Well, absolutely. This needs to be talked about.
this needs to be talked about because both the left and the right, I think, have completely gone off their rockers.
Yeah, they definitely have. And us being center journalists,
Exactly.
we must now go after them.
We have to, the two wings of the party obviously aren't getting along. So the center right guys and sometimes center left guys have to breathe and just say, okay, let's
Mhm.
just
I'm
think
gonna
about this.
pilot the ship for these people because you've
Exactly.
lost your damn mind, AOC.
Exactly. So this is a Fox News article. GoFundMe tells Matt Walsh family of AOC's abuela, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing, but that is a grandmother in Spanish,
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
won't accept money after he raised $100,000 to repair home. Okay, so what is this all about? So essentially, what happened was AOC's grandmother is, I believe, in Puerto Rico or
Mm-hmm.
living in Puerto Rico, and Hurricane Maria came through there. I think it was during the summer of 2020
Mm-hmm.
and destroyed, pretty much Puerto Rico. And they're obviously in the process of rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
She is currently living in a, I would say, John, probably what, like a one-bedroom apartment? I'm guessing maybe a studio apartment. I don't know,
I'm not sure I did that. I know someone commented on it, but it wasn't.
but there,
Nobody wants to seem to write the article of the humanity effort to help her out. They all want to write the political argument, so you're really
right?
not getting details.
Yeah, exactly. There was, I think, I did see one photo of what looked to be like a living room, and a television with like a ceiling that part of a ceiling that's kind of like caved in or something like that.
Mm.
I don't know if it was a strip or whatever. I have no idea, but it did not look good. It didn't look like anybody should be living in there.
Yeah.
And apparently AOC was fired off this tweet saying, "Oh, look at how horrible the Trump administration treated my grandmother." And it's like, sweetheart, this is the Biden administration. That's problem number one. I don't know where you're going with that,
Well,
but
she's going with it. She was going with it. It happened in the summer of 2020.
yeah.
So that's where she's using it as a political ploy, like she does everything else, which is fine.
Why she's not helping out her grandmother, I don't know. But anyway,
Well,
Matt Walsh, who is part of the Daily Wire,
mhm.
conservative beat podcast or write up, fires off a tweet and basically says, well, if she'd be living in New York and your wonderful mansion, palatial estate, I don't think there'd be a problem. So right away, personal attack,
Yeah, yeah.
which is like, Matt, just dial it back, right? And then so there's that problem. But then it was like AOC was like, well, look, she doesn't have any money down there. So Matt Walsh, trying to think of an idea, says, okay, well, I'm going to go do a GoFundMe. If AOC's not helping her own grandmother, I guess I'll have to do it. So he starts a GoFundMe to raised, I think, close to $100,000 for
Yeah,
her.
it was $100,000. Yeah.
And it was like, then all of a sudden, it got cut off. And GoFundMe, you read the article, GoFundMe basically is now refunding all the donations back.
Yeah, they have to refund once the donor that is going to declines it.
Yep.
It doesn't go, just so if people understand GoFundMe, it doesn't go to Matt Walsh and then get dispersed. Like GoFundMe seems to be legit, that
Yep.
it goes legitimately back to every donor.
To every donor. Yeah. So, uh, what's your
You know,
thought process on this, John? Because I
you know
don't
what
know.
pisses me off about this whole thing?
Yeah.
It's that they're like, not only AOC, but other people, because AOC did,
Yeah.
are using her grandmother for political gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the funny part is, the only one that isn't doing it is Trump. And he's the one that everybody's trying to say is the piece of garbage in this.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Trump's fault that hurricane happened, or whatever, however she was trying to play it.
Yeah.
This is the problem with politics now.
This is
It's
big.
so vastly right and left that
They can't see charity if
yeah,
it was
exactly.
like hit over the head with,
And I'm not. I know they're all criminals, so I know there's more money than they're talking about.
yeah.
Because they're just showing.
Yeah.
They're not. We actually don't know where the money goes with these people that spend entirely too many terms
Yeah.
and have so much glad handing between privatized companies. Like, we know there's a ton of unearthed money here. We
Mhm.
know that. Like, that's
Mhm.
easy.
Yep.
That's why she doesn't want the money, because because then that GoFundMe, then that's IRS, and then they're gonna look. I get it. Like, I said as soon as Matt sent me the article, I was like, well, we're gonna find some corruption money there.
Oh yeah, there's going to be something going on there, no doubt
Yeah.
about that. But my whole standpoint on all of this, I don't know what what John with this is like. It really frustrates me in the fact that here was a perfect charitable opportunity. Whether or not AOC was like, selling her grandmother up the river, I have a feeling she was doing that, which is really pathetic,
But
and it shouldn't be like, not a surprise to anybody, given
no,
her track record.
but you're also absolutely right. Like, this could have been the perfect humanitarian, perfect left and right come together. Great photo shoot. Thank you very much. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Could have brought
the
people
problem
together. Could have brought people together in a time where they are so far apart, left and right. This
And the
could have been a
problem,
move.
and here's the thing: it was like with Matt Walsh, right? Here's the thing: his first reaction, I have to bash AOC.
Yeah.
I have to do this. And it's
No,
like, to me, that's like, that is so utterly ridiculous. It's like,
It's such a boring political game at this point.
it
because
really is. And
it's just like, so okay, ready, Matt? I'm running for the same Senate seat that you're running for.
Mhm.
You're just gonna come out, right? Matt's just gonna come out in September, right? Right before primaries in November, right? Matt's gonna be like, dude's ugly and he's kind of stupid. Like, that's gonna be your political play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
And
like,
I don't want to say I get it, but if we're going to, like, this is part of the problem, right, John?
yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day.
I don't get it. It's a part of the problem. You're
Yeah,
right.
it is a massive part of the problem, I think. And it's like,
Look,
I think what made, like, let's just rewind even 20 years ago. I don't think you see something like this happen. Now, granted, social media wasn't invented back then, but if something were to happen from somebody else on the other side of the aisle that we found out about, where, the grandmother is really struggling, and even the donation, even the salary and all that kind of stuff, it's not helping. Start something, start the fundraiser, do whatever you have to do to help. People are they genuinely give in this country. They do.
Yes.
And regardless of political affiliation, people genuinely do give. They are of good nature, good heart, all that kind of stuff. But the moment it gets to this kind of a level, it's kind of like, dude, what are you guys doing? Like both sides, the left and the right. Like
Yeah.
Matt
No, no,
Rawls should have just kept his mouth shut.
I mean, you could have done the GoFundMe, but if it didn't work, apologize. Say, hey, the funds weren't needed.
Yeah.
I'm working. If you guys, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
could have helped someone else.
Yeah.
Could have done something else. Pulled the focus away from political, and it. No, what you did is you made a bunch of people
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
look at this, like, just square in the mouth, as this was both were a political move.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
blamed Trump, and then he came in to try to make her look like a fool.
Fool.
That's all.
And everyone's foolish in the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody got helped.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, well, okay, well, what was the point? It's
Exactly.
like with every AOC argument, it's like, what's the point? You know?
But what was the point of the GoFundMe? Nobody got helped. Everybody got their money back. Was it just a feel-good story? Like, that's what I mean. Like, it could have been an easily feel-good story.
Easily.
But they wrote it backwards.
Yeah.
It just looks like two idiots tried to not help somebody.
Yeah.
And it made the news.
I was just going to say, it was probably two idiots, fooling around or something like that. I'm trying to like make it like our two noobs talking. It's kind of like,
yeah,
I don't even know what to make.
It's just not even on it's not even on our level.
No, it's not, because like normal human beings would be like, oh, there's a problem. Oh, there's somebody with that's failing to make their medical bills. Oh, we can help.
Yeah, I've been involved with a ton of charity events throughout my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you show up, you contribute.
Yeah,
and you help people. That's
what people do. That's what's and whether or not they vote for someone or not in a political, like on a political ballot, should never matter. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day when people are in a charitable giving mood. But here you got two idiots talking on both sides, and each really silly, in a silly way, trying to one up each other
right now. The American haze.
Exactly.
They're lost.
There you go. But that's a great analogy, John. That's exactly what we're up against right now.
Yeah.
This haze and this fog, where it's like, if we see somebody that is so against who we are politically, like our political identities matter more than any time in the country.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge problem.
Even more than our sex or our gender at this point.
Absolutely,
it's all politically driven at this point.
100%. Yeah,
it's crazy. It needs to stop. There needs to be. I think that I'd leave it on that note.
Absolutely.
Like America needs to come together and stop idolizing these politicians.
Yeah,
and start voting.
Yeah, and
even
too, the conservative celebrity and the liberal celebrity too, because that has a tendency, we idolize that, and that you can get real down the deep weeds if you start to idolize them. The moment they fall, forget it.
Brown's the major one right now. He is the biggest talking point because he's a liberal celebrity.
Yeah, I realized I read this this one article about Bron. He quit basically because he believes that the NBA playoffs are inherently racist, and so he's doing it for social justice causes.
But that's the way he presents himself. So he should always be made fun of that. I'm gonna say one thing about him, just because this is what it's got to. He's literally making Colin Kaepernick look like a fool.
Oh,
Colin Kaepernick should not be made of a fool, because Colin Kaepernick made a choice, whether you disagree with it or not. He was willing to give up his career to fight this fight, and people like LeBron make him look
foolish,
like a juvenile fool.
Oh yeah,
because now you want to. It's what, like I said in the Mikey Bowles episode. Too late. I'm not buying your stuff.
Yeah.
We've been asking for this for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been asking for I know you, I know me, I know all of our friends, all of our crew. We've been asking for this shit for 20 years. I'm not taking a sports athlete going, Oh, it's time now.
It's
Why?
time to
Because
do it
they're now
now?
paying you to do it?
And it's like, we're welcome to the party, pal.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Ron, you weren't even born when we started this fight.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Well, let's move on, John, to our second topic, and this one warms my heart. I don't know about you, but this one was just absolutely fantastic.
You are a fan.
UK Daily Mail: Stanford epidemiologist says Dr. Fauci's credibility is entirely shot, and says his flip flopping over masks makes no sense. John, this warms my heart.
Well, this. I knew Stanford was coming somewhere
Yeah.
close to this because in here in the show notes, Stanford's mask, I think led by this guy too. The research on the mask.
Yep.
They were very much against what Fauci was saying when he was flip flopping back and forth in the vaccine, and you need to wear 2 masks. All that time with the emails and saying that you don't need to wear any mask, but then he's telling everybody in the press that you need to wear 2 masks with the vaccine. All that controversy.
Yeah.
I think he was one of them that was outspoken then. He came out after the emails came out and like just put a stamp on it.
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, just as a stamp. Like his credibility's gone because
there, you can't. I mean, and we of course called that. I think it was at least a couple months ago in this podcast. His credibility was shot a long time ago. But it's great to see this in the press.
Yeah. Read that bottom.
I was just going to say, that quote is gold.
Paragraph.
So this is Jay Bhattacharya, who's a professor of medicine at Stanford. He says, quote, "There are emails," referring to the Fauci emails from the Freedom of Information Act from last week. "There are emails that you can find in the treasure trove that have been released where he acknowledged the virus has been aerosolized. Well, the cloth masks people have been recommending, they're not particularly effective against aerosolized viruses." That might be a bit of a problem.
Should I just leave that? Should I leave that hang there for a minute?
We could leave that hanging there.
In the show
I think
notes,
he's been all over the place with masks. Yeah.
In the show notes, we will put the Fauci emails in yet again.
Yep.
And we will put the Swiss
policy
papers.
research.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Swiss research that we've been researching for months now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And it's amazing to me. It's like the masks, and because everybody's looking at 1918 and everybody thought, oh my God, this is 1918 all over again. We got to throw the masks on. Well, that was kind of like,
and that's not even a problem. Like
that was an experiment, really, that no one had any idea. It was just like, well, okay, how do we stop like that? Well, we got to wear a mask.
I understand it in the beginning.
Yeah.
When they were literally saying millions and millions were going to die. And again, I cannot preferences enough. I am not talking about the actual virus. I am not talking people that got sick from the virus. Yes, I get it. Sick, death, like I get it. It's horrible. I
100%.
understand what the virus is and what impact it had.
Yep, 100%.
My point is the virus emission to the people that were healthy, they didn't need to take the steps that they took. Did the sick and elderly? Absolutely. You will never hear anybody in my circle say that mass vaccines for sick and elderly. No, you need to protect those people.
Absolutely.
Yes, but I'm talking about the everyday Joe, takes your vitamins, lives a healthy life, eats good, doesn't get sick that often.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Because my problem is those people were the ones that took advantage of this virus and went on unemployment and ran away.
Absolutely.
And don't want to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know from my standpoint, I made it a point on previous episodes of the podcast, I was debating whether or not I was going to take the vaccine or not.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up doing it. I ended up taking the vaccine. Now, it was really interesting because it was virtually the exact same symptoms I had in January of 2020, John. Virtually the same. Fever at the beginning of the outset. It kind of, then it dissipated, went away, and I'm thinking, but it wasn't fully away. It didn't go away. And then it came on real hard, like Thursday. I remember that week. It was like Thursday night into Friday. I didn't get much sleep. Tossing and turning, coughing, dry cough, all that kind of stuff. finish it out Friday, beat it, completely fine Saturday. Like it was literally like I woke up the next day, it was fine. So take shot one, right? Took shot one, it was like no big deal. A little sore arm, it was no big deal. The
Mhm.
second shot though, fever again. 3 hours
Mhm.
later after the shot, and it went away at 8 o'clock. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Saturday morning, right around like 11 o'clock, maybe noon local time, fever hits coming back. And I mean, it's like bam-o. And I'm like laid out on the couch and a whole bit, and my body is fighting it. It defeats it within 3 hours. I go up,
Hmm.
I walk out, and I was just like, okay, it's like no big deal. Go to Wawa, get
Interesting.
something to eat, bring it back, eat it, and then I was pretty much wiped out. Woke up Sunday morning, no problem.
Nice.
Exactly the same symptoms I had in January of 2020. And you're talking about a
Of
guy that,
having,
yeah,
yeah, of having the flu, or
yeah,
what we're
this was a
assuming.
flu. And I want to make this a very, like, a huge point. This
Mhm.
was definitely a flu like symptom. There was no question
Mhm.
about it. It was a coronavirus, which is a flu.
Yeah. I
This is a strain of a flu that was different, and now my
Yeah,
body,
no, absolutely.
yeah.
I At the beginning of my trip, I don't want to share too much, but at the beginning of my trip, I was under the weather, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
allergies or the flu. I don't know if the flu's around this time of year. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, especially in Texas. I work outdoors all the time too, so it could definitely be allergies. It could
Yeah.
just be. It was when I changed scenery. I went from the desert. I went from the desert to coastal.
Ooh,
So it could easily just been allergies. Like I don't. I'm not
sure.
saying, but from what you're explaining, I think everybody kind of goes through that. But we've been so conditioned.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to try to get profound. We're so conditioned that
Mm-hmm.
we walk through it and we don't think about it.
Yeah.
So when the media is harping on this
You
and
could die. You could die.
it
You could
becomes
die.
a thing, you
Mm-hmm.
start to slow down more and think about what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
you might not, especially being attached to these phones and these devices now, and
Mm-hmm.
work, play. Kids are you might, I'm not saying that the coronavirus didn't exist, but some people might have got a common cold, some people might have got the flu, some people might have got a version of the coronavirus that wasn't COVID-19.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm just going to end on this note, when you've got crackpot scientists like
Oh.
Fauci and
Oh.
Burks and some of these
And
idiots
they're
from the
here, here,
CDC,
here, here, here.
that's what I'm saying. When they're confusing everything, of
Mm-hmm.
course we're going to be in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not built to understand exactly. I mean, I know more now that I started a podcast about what the coronavirus actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to do research when you do something like this, because you're not going to just pop off. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. My whole thing with this would have been, and again, I go back to what I think it was. I can't remember his last name, but Eric, that the CEO that we read that of that email from
mhm.
last week,
Yeah, yeah,
where his
yeah.
thought process was, look, we got to protect the elderly. We have to
Yes.
essentially protect the sick and the elderly from this.
That's also a doctor that we found on Facebook.
Hmm.
um
Yes.
midway through, that was saying some of the
Yeah.
exact same things. I'd love to find that again. That's a good unearthed piece. I got to go through the Two Noobs catalog at this
That's in a
point.
way back machine, man. I'm telling you, that's like probably like 6, 7
I gotta
months ago.
find
But yeah,
that.
I
That's a
know
good
exactly what
one.
you're talking about. It's like I
Yeah,
think
that
it's
was a
a
good
Verg
one.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, it
where he
was
was like trying to figure
Dr.
out
Berg.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was trying to figure out like, okay, the number of cases are going up, but the deaths are going down. So what's going on there? So yeah, that was that whole. I remember that whole talk. But
He
yeah,
helped us along the way. He did,
but again,
definitely.
it was like I think to your point, when you have a Fauci who's like, wear masks, don't wear masks, wear double masks after you get vaccinated, don't and kind of leads into this next piece that we're going to go into.
Yes.
But my whole point was, at the end of it, like the gym should have been open. More health should have been like talked about,
Yeah.
not the deaths, not poo-pooing them, but saying, in the
No,
meantime,
you're absolutely
make
right.
sure you're eating right, make sure you're exercising, make sure you're doing all these things so
And
that you're not bogged down. Meanwhile, just watch what you're doing. That's all. You
Well,
know.
that's true. That moving into that piece and just to finalize, just let's put a nail in that coffin. No pun intended.
Yeah.
I sent you over last night.
Yep.
This the South Dakota governor was talking,
Yeah. Kristen
and
Noem. Yep.
she should be applauded.
Yeah.
She never ever once made a decision on her own. That was the coolest part of that speech.
Mm.
She went to her health officials. She went to her legislation. She went to the people.
Oh.
Never closed a single thing.
Yeah.
Never put a mask mandate out. Never did
Yeah.
anything. I understand if someone wants to challenge this with South Dakota is very widespread, but even in the towns that aren't been there, understand how it works.
Oh,
There
yeah.
are mountains, but there are towns.
There are towns there.
Amongst these things, that would the emission was really low. Yes, is population a thing? Absolutely. I would understand that South Dakota as a state and New York as a state, you would get more coronavirus infections in an inner city.
Oh, of course.
City,
you're on top of each other. You're close.
Exactly. Exactly. And you've got more than one major city.
But again,
so of course you're going to get more numbers.
But what's the media going to go for? Right at the end of the day, they're going to
exactly.
What's going to make the most headlines? The sensationalism.
Look exactly where the media went. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Florida, California, Texas. Where do and I'm going to be profound for one more moment. Where does sports go?
Yeah.
To the major markets.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have minor league stuff everywhere else.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the media. Like I said this on the last podcast. I think that the national media went and took a course at ESPN to figure out how to be full of shit. Exactly. And that's now what that national media is. You're just playing the major markets.
Yeah.
The NFL's been doing this for I don't even know how long the NFL's been alive, and I don't actually care. But that they've been playing this whole thing
easily over 100 years. Yeah,
if
exactly.
Bill Belichick didn't arrive, no one would know where New England actually was.
Yeah,
he's through the
NFL. I love it when we dig in Boston. It's great, love it. But yeah, let's move on. I mean, this kind of like bounces off really what we just talked about with Fauci and losing his integrity and his credibility being completely shot. No surprise there. But the New York Times, an opinion piece here, you can't rely on the CDC to make your pandemic decisions. How this made the New York Times
I have no
baffles
idea.
Me, John.
It was so good, though.
It was.
It was such a good read. Such a great opinion piece. It really is.
Yeah.
We'll get rid of the New York Times because we don't need to really talk about them.
It was stunning.
A couple things out of here.
Yeah. When it comes to public health emergencies like the pandemic, if people fail to be safe enough where the danger and uncertainty are just too great to rely on individual decisions, then the government must act, as it did with stay-at-home orders, mask mandates last year. But as the country emerges from the pandemic, it's going to fall increasingly on each of us to figure out what to do ourselves. The COVID-19 pandemic has been different. The last time the world faced a disease this infectious and this dangerous, and for which there were no vaccines, was the 1918 flu outbreak. COVID was a new crisis that needed extraordinary leadership, I should say, and many turned to the CDC, which was a real.
It's a little bit, and in the middle here, it just shows you the CDC is they just put guidelines out. They're not rules. They're not regulations. They're not laws. The CDC is just basically putting out recommendations. Like you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough. That's what he's saying. Like outside of the pandemic, you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough. Why should you not eat raw cookie dough? Because it contains milk and eggs that aren't refrigerated.
Yeah.
Also, a CDC recommendation is a woman who is pregnant should not drink alcohol. Yeah. That's not a law.
Yeah.
It should be a law because we know it does adverse effects, but it is not a law. It is a CDC guideline. For the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah.
They're trying not to let you kill yourself.
That's
all they're doing is trying to control the diseases with guidelines. These are not laws. These
Yeah.
are not, these are
Yeah.
not. If you want to, I challenge someone. If you want to actually follow all the CDC guidelines, please get yourself an island and do it.
Yeah.
I bet you'll be back in 5 months
I,
confused
yeah,
because
exactly.
you'll be hungry,
Yeah. Thirsty.
lost,
Yeah.
or dead.
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything they say because you're
Yeah.
not everybody body is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John, I think there are a couple points I wanted to raise. One is Centers
Mhm.
for Disease Control.
Mhm.
When I hear that, that screams administrative state, does it
It's
not?
such a weird. Uh, it,
I mean, my God,
what
that's
about
just
Center for Disease Prevention?
exactly.
Like, I
Exactly.
think I'd trust you a little bit more if you had the word prevention in
Prevention
there.
in it instead of control. I mean, but I mean, I guess at my broader point, I'll have to like think about this, but
I'm sorry, I had to
yeah,
burst
it's
into
just,
it.
I mean, it's just too funny. But I mean, the administrative state is just, it just screams that. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, wow. But it's like, and I get it. It's like they want to be able to say, okay, well, here's the best case, here's what you can do, and that kind of deal. And it's like, I'm not so sure, it's like, oh yeah, and here's my second point. The second point is, the guidelines, they sometimes we could take guidelines and make that into laws without having people signing legislation
Mhm.
to pass it. And you shared a great Instagram video with me this week. We're not going to put it up here, but it was terrific, and it was people that were basically walking around with their masks on,
Mhm.
and there was somebody walking around saying, "Hey, what's going on? Have you been fully vaccinated?" "Oh yeah." "What are you doing wearing the mask?"
It was a great
"Oh,
interview.
oh, I kind of like wearing it now." And I thought, "Oh my God, are we in this state now?"
We
That
could
we
be.
And it's like, good grief, and of course, like I've just shared. Obviously, I've been fully vaccinated. I walked into the Wegmans without a mask on. It was great.
Good.
It was great. But, John, that's scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it absolutely is. But also don't let's not become the other side. If you want to walk around with a mask on for the right way, I had this conversation with the guy I work with.
hmm,
I literally we were talking about it in depth with these with masks. And I was like, you do realize it's Japan all over again.
hmm,
We've lost a quarter of our population to wearing masks. And he was like, I know.
yeah,
So we've just done it. And you know what? What we do as people that aren't feared up,
mm-hmm,
we need to somehow not be feared up because they're feared up.
yeah,
If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you're vaccinated, if you're not, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I am not judging you when you walk past me
hmm,
wearing a mask.
hmm.
You got to do you.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say judgmental, but it would mark me as strange
It is, but
to me
this
if I
happened.
saw someone wearing a mask. Like
Yes.
if we're 6 months away from now, and I see
Yeah.
somebody walking towards me with a mask on, I would be
But
like,
I think it's a thing. Japan, I think you don't quote me on this. I say
"No,
that
you're
because
right. Yeah,
I,
they
I'm
weren't."
I'm a statistical guy, but don't
Hmm.
quote me on this. I believe they lost. I think it was. I think in a million people, they
Hmm.
lost like a good 365 or something
Yeah.
that refused when
Mm-hmm.
they said you don't like the air pollution. I think it was air pollution. I don't even think it was a
Mm-hmm.
disease.
Mm-hmm.
um that they got the air pollution under control
Mm-hmm.
and they did like poll after poll after poll
Mm-hmm.
and they kept coming back. Like 350,000 people were like, don't trust you, not doing it, don't trust
Wow.
you, not doing it, don't trust, like over and over again.
They
And
would rather wear the mask instead of,
it's
yeah.
in the culture now. I believe it's I don't want to get it wrong at all, but
Mm,
I believe I still see. I watch a lot of Japan wrestling and I know some people
mm,
that live there. I see pictures and I'm like, it's still a thing there.
Yeah.
It could be a fad. It could not be a fad. It could
Yeah.
just be. It could be that their air quality sucks and we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah. It surprises me that China doesn't have that many, because like their air quality is horrible over there.
well, they're
Horrible.
also under communist regime, so
Well,
they
that might be a bit of a
arrest
problem.
you if they're communists. Just so we're clear.
Yeah. That might be a bit of an issue. Anyway.
Yeah, just clear. They might not let you. Like communism kind of sucks because they dictate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not you. They
Well, John,
the state.
I had a great discussion, of course, with Mr. Steve Murray a few weeks
Mhm.
ago about working from home
Yes.
versus, going
What
into
a
the
great human
office.
being that man is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You will see him on Two Noobs Talking. Trust me, a lot.
Oh yeah.
He's a brilliant human being. We love him to death.
But let's talk
Shout out
about
to Steve.
this
who
article.
texted us.
And I would love to hear your thoughts on this because Apple employees revolt after CEO, their chief executive officer, Tim Cook, asked them to return to the office. And Apple employees are basically pushing back against Tim Cook, who told them they need to return to their offices for at least 3 days a week in early September.
Yeah, because you got to make Apple great again.
Yeah, staff members
I
said
don't.
they quote had to learn how to deliver the same quality of products and services that Apple is known for, blah 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 blah, all while working almost completely remotely during the unprecedented challenge they faced amid the Chinese coronavirus pandemic. We did so, achieving another record-setting year. The employees added, "We found a way for everyone to support each other and succeed in a completely new way of working together from locations we were able to choose at our own discretion."
Okay, I get a couple questions since you
Go
want my
for it.
opinion. Where, see, this is the one thing I don't like about this article, but I love this article
Mm,
because they're pushing back
yeah,
big time.
yeah.
Um, I
Apple. You do
but
realize, John, that Apple's campus is enormous
yes,
in California.
I know everything. I know everything I need to know. The only thing I don't know is were they able to keep up with the demand during the coronavirus? If so,
Mm.
Tim Cook has no right to demand them to come back.
Yeah, yeah. That to me says that he did not take a pulse like my organization did.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like if you it is he another Steve Jobs, Bill Gates? Like, are you so high up on the totem pole that you don't understand your company and
Would have
this
been
is why
interesting,
you're
like
getting
if
remote?
Job would be interesting to think about that. Like that's an interesting thought process of like if Steve Jobs were alive now.
I think Steve Jobs would go remote and then relocate everybody to
He
where they
probably
wanted to
would.
be.
He probably would.
You know what
Either
I mean?
that or
Like,
he would be bullish and say, "No, you're coming back to the office. I don't want to hear it." You know.
well, either or, but I would like to think it was the later
Yeah.
one before he died because he
But
seemed
this
nicer.
but this to me seems like Cook went ahead and said, "No, you're coming back in. We're proud to announce that we are going back to work in the office 3
See,
days a week."
that's Apple above people. I don't like that.
Yeah, see that's the issue.
I don't like that at all.
That's
That's
the issue.
what I would hope. My opinion about going back to work is I loved what Steve said with his partners and what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I
That's where
why
you have a discussion with your employees. I
yeah
think your point is
yeah what
we want to have a
why
talk. Yeah.
why the bill and knowing Steve, not saying like if you work for Steve, I'm not saying he's going to do this, but knowing Steve, he would rather
Mhm.
as a leader, Steve would rather give back to his employees than pay overhead on buildings when he doesn't need to.
Oh, sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it makes you a kinder, gentler employee. I know my company has been amazing to us
Mhm.
throughout this time.
Mhm.
A lot of us work remotely.
Mhm.
We don't get to see the shop. We don't get to see the office. We talk to people on the phones and email.
Yeah.
A lot of us in the company do that.
Yeah.
They've been very, very understanding of the challenges.
Mhm.
They've been very nice. They've been
Yeah.
very willing to work with anybody that had any worries.
Yep. Yep.
My company's been amazing to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that they had people working remotely.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I don't think it's I to be honest with you, I don't even think my company's going back to the way it was with the office.
Mm.
I think I think it's forever changed in this world because I used to watch my mom, who was an insurance underwriter
Mm-hmm.
for years.
Mm-hmm.
She could work back before there were computers, she could work remotely.
Mm.
She just had to lug a bunch of case files with her,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and when she traveled, she would, lug a ton of stuff with her.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, I take her back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put a laptop with a server that you
Yeah.
can access everything.
Oh
We
sure.
could have been working from home in the 70s, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, I think for me, you know, this, like I said, this to me was Cook basically saying, edict from on high, you're coming back into the office, no pulse, no discussion with the employees, and I think they're more revolting on that than they
I
are,
agree. I agree.
the 3 days in the office or anything along those lines. I think Cook's idea was, look, okay, I've got to get my people back. I also think too, part of this is financial. Part of this is definitely from a financial perspective, in terms of taxes are probably a little too high in these cities and in these states.
Most likely, yes.
And because you're paying not only, for me, there's a township tax, there's all kinds of
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, and state taxes and all that kind of stuff, and especially in Philadelphia, as I spoke about with Steve a few weeks ago. He works downtown the city, and you and I both know, John, city wage tax in Philadelphia isn't exactly fair. It's pretty much like it's a write
It's
off for SEPTA,
it's criminal.
going
Yeah,
in.
it's criminal.
So if
It's
you have
absolutely criminal.
that
Yeah.
in your bloodstream, chances are, yeah, I think remote working would be really cool. I'd miss people for sure, but I would much rather prefer working from home if I was, my original office was working in Philadelphia. Mine isn't
Mhm.
though. Mine's in Malvern. It's 20 minutes to the west of me, and I cannot wait to go back. And again, I'm rare, I think, but I think there's
I
a
think you
fair
are
number of
rare.
people in my department that do want to go back to the office because they're kind of tired of working at home and,
Can I ask you a question for the ones that are tired at home?
sure,
Just a broad concept.
go for it.
Well, what if they took 90% off the top that wanted to stay home, right? They did two things, right? And they were like, okay, well, we'll work remotely because working remotely, no, nothing did preferences that nothing has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Same productivity has to happen,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in all companies.
Yep.
So productivity has changed. So you got 90% of the people, right,
Mm-hmm.
want to stay home. Why can't an ownership go, okay, well, these 90%,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to stay home. This is your package. This is what you're doing. We will supply XYZ, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Matt, John, Steve, Jerry in the
Whatever.
corner.
Yep.
Y'all want to come in. You like to work in an environment.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we'll do. We are going to close our office.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to rent another office.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your office.
Yep.
Make sure you space it out.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys, if you guys want to work full time in the office, here's your new space.
Yep.
Cuts their
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
ability down, and they can work with every. I understand that if someone's gonna lose the lease on a building, they're gonna take that as profit. They're not gonna want to put that in there. But why can't people just be
Oh yeah. Well,
working
I
with
think that
everybody?
debate is happening across all offices right now, John, to be perfectly honest, and
Yeah,
being able to
you
try to figure out,
downgrade.
what do you do, what can you do? I know for my company, I shared this with Steve. We have now, I mean, we had like 9 or 10 offices scattered throughout the entire country.
Mhm.
And the thought process was, okay, well, caseloads are going down. This is great, right? So what do we do? Do we go back to work full time? Do we get everybody back in the office? All that kind of stuff. And people were like, well, we really like working from home. And so the idea was, okay, we're going to have, centrally located. We're going to call these areas like collaboration hubs. They're not going to be necessarily offices, but we're going to put you in these particular buildings, maybe a couple of rooms, whatever. You get together, you talk, whatever, you hang out, have a happy hour, whatever. That's great. But there are four main offices across the entire country that are basically now our quote unquote main headquarters. We have our main one, which is in Malvern. I think that one is going to open up in September, no matter what, and we're going to go back to normal as soon as we're physically able in September. But it kind of made it very interesting. It's like, and it made sense because it's like if you've got 10 separate offices, one of them I can tell you was in Massachusetts, and 12 people showed up. Now you're not going to have an office building
No, you could just
where you
work
have
remote. Yeah,
12 people in there.
you could
That's
just work remotely
ridiculous.
at that
You
point.
know,
Yeah.
especially when you've got like at least 3,000 square feet. That's ridiculous to have 12 people in there, and you're a growing organization. That no, you have the ability to work from home, do it. You know, that kind of deal. But I think with Apple, I think my whole to wrap it up, I honestly think in a couple years, people will return back to the office. I think this will be a fad of sorts. It will be interesting to see. I could be completely wrong. I'm just my speculation.
The funny part is I agree with you totally that it could be a fad, but
Mm.
I think once you start seeing the health benefits
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
of working from home, and
Yep.
this is reality, and just the anxiety
Oh,
that'll
yeah.
go down, and the just
I
the
don't have to
all
go
the
in and deal with the rush hour traffic and all
all the
that.
BS that you have to
Yeah.
deal with to go to work. Like
Yeah.
I know
No,
I
I
drive
get that.
everywhere I go. I work on site, so I drive everywhere I go. I deal with more BS
Yep.
before I get there
Yeah.
than I do when I work there.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
It's
Like,
weird.
and
Yeah.
then home, like
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm an anxiety ridden human being
Mm-hmm.
half the time.
Yep.
When I'm working, I'm not.
One thing I would also probably say, I think that the big thing for me would be if you're a manager and you're bringing somebody new in and it's remote working, that would be a challenge. That is going to be one of the
That's a
big
total job,
challenges.
but that's also, and I'll explain this. My boss would explain this better, but
Mm.
he's really good at it. So
Mhm.
I'll just explain what I think he's really good at. He does that all the time.
Yeah.
You know what he does?
Mm.
He trusts the communication
Yeah.
and he trusts the people around him
Mm-hmm.
to make the right decisions.
To make the right decision.
If that makes any sense. So if
No,
you've
it
got
does.
someone,
Mm-hmm.
so if you manager or me manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's taught me this. This is one of the most amazing things ever. Goes
Mhm.
to the guy he trusts, right?
Yep.
Whoever that may be.
Yep.
Hey, I got a guy. I need you to interview him because he can't just jump on a jet plane.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's doing
Exactly.
a million other things,
Yeah.
right? I got this guy applied.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the once over, right? Cool. Get the once over. Then it comes back to him, talks about it. Then he goes to his own interview of him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's now talked to him twice. Now he has someone he trusts. Blah 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 blah. Like you could
It's the
do
feedback.
stuff. You could do stuff like that
Yep.
by just, hey, you live close to so and so. Hey, would you mind having a meeting with this person because I trust you to
Mm.
just. That's how like the remote thing can work well.
Oh, sure. You know, I
I've seen
totally
that
agree
work,
with
right?
that.
But you get it, and that also with managers and employees, trust is very important. Which I think during the pandemic, I think we've gotten in a lot of companies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It'll be very interesting to see, like, I was
How
even
it's going to
thinking about today,
transition.
what's going to
Absolutely.
be like 2, 4, 6 years from now in the business. It's going to be very interesting. So, Johnny, happy segments, right? Let's dive right into those. Wrap it up here with episode 35.
Yeah, this was a good one. We found this one on Yahoo News. Yahoo News never puts anything nice out. No, they always do well.
Yeah.
This was their Yahoo Polls or something. I just thought this was an amazing story. So basically, this kid got a dog, and this dog was not doing well.
Yeah.
And we all know, like even hospital bills, emergency vets are costly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's
this
brutal.
kid,
Mm.
take it over, man.
When 8-year-old Bryson overheard his parents talking about mounting veterinary bills, he didn't hesitate to take action, John. How about that? This is the message he shared with his classmates the next morning, asking for help. and he positively loves Pokemon cards. Has quite a prized collection, but he decided to sell them all to raise money for the dog.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Uh, Shortly after Bryson returned, Bryson's the name of the dog. Returned home from, or actually the name of the kid is Bryson. Returned home from school that day, unbeknownst to his parents, he set up his this kiosk in their yard. So he sets up a kiosk, sells his Pokemon cards to raise
Yep.
money
Yep.
for the dog's well-being, and I think the dog survived, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
I mean, that. How about that? Like that kid,
Well, it's see a need, fill a need.
see a need, fill a need with this, and it's such a great way. Like here's a kid collecting. John, I'm sure you probably collected all the baseball cards, right? Back in the day.
I try to. I mean, my dad did a better job than I.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's like I just thinking about that, like, right? I mean, just having like you have this collection of cards that you treasure and you love, and it's like, but you also
Mhm.
have this beloved family pet,
Yeah.
and it's
See
like,
a
so what
need,
do you
fill a need.
do? And the kid's like, I'll drop the cards. Are you kidding me? I want the dog.
I really want to impress that saying, even though
Mm,
it's from a Disney movie or a Pixar movie. I don't even remember.
yeah,
Um, but see a need, fill a need is literally like how I wake up every day and I
such a
live.
such a
I
great,
I
yeah,
live through all the BS that we talk about. It's see
yeah,
a need, fill a need. Just be that guy.
yeah.
Be that guy that you know what? Just a funny story in that whole thing. It's a personal story to me. Like
Mm,
last time I was on a trip a couple weeks ago, a really good friend of mine that works for the company who I'm working under right now.
mm,
He's the director of what I'm doing.
mm-hmm,
He calls me and completely has to change my schedule 2 days before I leave.
mm.
Keeps me in those 2 days, but he's such a good friend of mine that he's like, "Hey, bud, I need a favor.
Huh?
I need this done and this done." And it's that. It's see you need, fill need. It's like, gotcha. Like
No
not no
problem.
question, no. I mean, he could ask me to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. I think I would. I like him that much. He's such a great man.
Yeah.
But
No, it's
but
great.
that's like just see a need, fill a need.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a great point.
And
Yeah.
when you're asking people to do that, also
Yeah.
don't take advantage.
Old Man's Winter Classic does that, John. You know
Mm-hmm.
the New Year's Eve hockey game that I run with
Mm-hmm.
my buddy Steve Rowe. We see a need and we fill that need. And yeah, we're looking forward to going back. I know we're going to play this New Year's Eve again, man. And it's like
I'm
we're gonna
I'm
figure
hoping
something out with a charity.
I'm hoping and planning to be home sometime around there. So I might just have to come join y'all.
There you go. There you go. We'd love to have you out there.
So
You know,
we'll see.
this is ice hockey though. You know, it's like you gotta
We'll
get
see.
suited up. Get suited up, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think we also have one other article we wanted to share. I don't know if you have it up
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I know, absolutely. I want to share this one because this shows the terribleness of the coronavirus, but it also shows the dedication of someone that did the absolute best for us.
Best thing. Of course, we touched on it like on Sunday with D-Day, but 96-year-old American, this is a New York Post article, 96-year-old American is lone veteran to attend D-Day ceremony. Again, like I mentioned, John, on
Mhm.
Sunday, we're not going to have long before the World War II generation officially passes from
Yes,
our
yes.
midst. But Charles Shea, we salute you and all of your brothers that died, and have gone on. But he was the sole representative of the more than 150,000 Allied troops who landed on Normandy's beaches on the Sunday anniversary day ceremony at the Normandy American Cemetery of Col Sommer. Um, he's originally from Maine, 96 years old, now lives in the country he helped liberate from the Nazis as a 19-year-old Army medic.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Salute this man. Travel restrictions due to the pandemic are preventing other events of the families of the 4,414 who in the battle from making the trip. So it's great that he was there.
Yeah,
with
the
his
article
brothers.
definitely will be in the show notes. But
Yeah,
yeah,
such a great article. Love the New York Post. I mean, they're fast becoming my favorite news for sure. But
104 years old. We like
yeah,
old things.
John. I mean that generation. It's like that's the Captain America of the all of
Yeah,
our generations.
and it just sucks that coronavirus restrictions still at this point
Yeah.
are stopping people from celebrating, especially something like the liberation of Europe. Like
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
it
But for him to go, you know what I mean? Like for him to go,
he did what he was
still,
supposed to do.
he was
He
doing
didn't
what he was
villainy.
supposed to.
He did
Yeah.
what he was supposed to do. He freed them, and he will forever
Yeah.
be there for the anniversary. Which at 26 year, he could literally flip me off from a bus, being like, "I'm going to Hawaii."
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And what can I say?
What
We
can you
were on the
say?
beaches of Normandy. I'm not gonna really argue with you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Just lovely. Just great stuff. So that's it, John. Episode 35 once again in the
It
can,
is.
my friend. And always great to talk with you, spend some time with you tonight. Where could people find us, man? Let's do the shameless plugs, shall we?
Absolutely. We'll start with socials. We are on Facebook, kind of. TikTok, Clapper, and Instagram. Look for us more there, Instagram Reels and TikTok and Clapper. We try
Nice.
to get short videos out to lead us to.
The YouTube channel. And of course, we just premiered earlier today. We'll
Yes, we
probably
do.
throw this out over the weekend. We'll see. But of course, we love for you to like and share and subscribe to our channel. And on the audio side, for our audio listeners, Johnny.
We are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast,
Mm.
Google Chrome. Some things I can't say. Spotify, it sucks.
A few other things as well. And then, of course, our show notes. Our show notes, of course, right here on screen. And you hear them as well.
Those
But
are
you can
good ones.
find them TwoNoobsTalking.wordpress.com. And, of course, if you enter in your email address, the show notes show up in your inbox the very next day. John, that wraps up episode 35. Two Noobs Talking goes into the can. You got anything final to say, bud?
Hope you made that. Matt, don't go down the rabbit hole.
Try not to. Talk to y'all next week. Take care.